Today I'm going to show you how to make an origami pine tree, just like this one. So to start, you're going to need some paper, and I suggest either origami paper that you can probably get from Michael's, or a fairly thin paper like the one I'm using today, which I just got in a pack from Walmart for about $8. If you use thicker paper like regular printer paper, you can still do it. It just gets a little difficult with all the folds. So that's why I like this thinner paper. Also, in a pinch, you can use wrapping paper. It just tends to curl over a little bit. So if you don't have a perfectly square piece of paper, I suggest you take a rectangular piece of paper and turn it into a square, and I'll show you how to do that. So you're just going to fold this side over like this, so you have a triangle. You're going to crease the edge down really well, and then you'll take some scissors and just chop off the bottom. And then you don't need this piece anymore. And then you have your square. So that's an easy way to get a square out of any other size piece of paper. So firstly, if you have a piece of paper that's colored on one side and blank on the other, you're going to want to start with the blank side up. And you're just going to start with an easy fold in half. And if it doesn't match up exactly on the edges, it's okay. And you just want to make sure as you do every fold that you do really nice crisp creases. They're very important for the folding later. And you can just unfold it like that. And you're going to do the same thing, just the other way. And again, it's more important to match up these creases here than it is the edges. As you can see here, mine's a little off, and that's okay. Crease, 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 crease. And you open that up. We've got a plus here. So then the next thing you want to do is I make it look like a diamond, and you're just going to fold these corners together like this, and then you want to just make sure this matches up into a nice shape here. And crease, crease, crease it down, and open that. So now you have a line here, and then you're going to do the same thing going this way. And it's more important for it to meet up here at a nice point than it is to meet on any of these edges. So we're going to make sure that matches up first and crease. And then you're not going to worry about that little overlap. And then open that. And then what you'll have is your little plus here and a little X this way. So for your next step, you're going to look at your piece of paper and you're going to see here is a more triangular shape. And if you just spin your paper so that the whole paper is on a diamond, you'll see a more diamond shape here. And that's what you want to work with for the bottom. Now you're going to want to make sure these creases are really good. So I just fold the paper like this and just extra crease this bottom portion. And you're going to do the same on this side. This is just to make it easier for you. Now that you have that, see these lines here, they're going to want to come up and kind of meet each other. And we're going to just fold it down like that. And then I just like to give it a little extra crease. And then you kind of push and you have this weird kind of a mouth. And if you've creased it really well, it should just push just like that. And then you just crease, crease, crease. and then it should be fairly flat. So then I'll have these 4 sections that you can see here, kind of in a point. And then once you have those, what you're going to do is just flip each section over, and again, just recreasing. And it's always tougher on the edge one, just because you're going through all the sheets of paper, and that's okay. So this is just so that the next step is a bit easier. There we go. So now we have some nice sharp creases. So then I find it really handy to have a pen for this step. You don't have to do anything with it, but just push it through. It just makes the point spread out a little bit so you can fold it down easier. So then the important part of this is you want to make sure that this line kind of matches up in between these 2 flaps. You can just push, and the top will just give. And then you just crease the edges really well again. Littles together. And I like to push it to one side, check the crease, push it to the other side, check the crease, and that's it. And you're going to do it for each one. And when you get to this one, it's easier to just flip this side over like that. Just then you're not fighting against your paper. And again, this is when the pen comes in handy. Line it up. Crease. And for the last one, same thing, I just kind of flip the other ones around. Crease. Crease. Together. And then when you're done, you have a triangle with this blank bottom part. So then you're going to take your scissors and you're going to cut this off. And if you look and something's not quite lined up all the way through, you can just cut a bit of extra off to make sure you get a really nice straight line. Mine's pretty straight, but I think I'll just take a little extra off just to make sure. There we go. So you don't need any of this at all, so you can just set that aside. Alright, so now you basically have the base of your pine tree. So now it's time to make some branches. So what I like to do is kind of make each one different. You can make them all the same width, or you could make some thin, some thick, whatever you like. For this one that I've already made, I made them all kind of the same, and it's very nice, but I also like to make them different so it looks a bit more natural. So that's what we're going to do for this one. And when you cut, you just want to make sure that you don't cut over your fold line, because if you do, the whole tree kind of falls apart. So we're going to actually follow some of these plaid stripes that are already on my paper. So I'm going to cut along this here. So this one will be kind of thin. And again, just making sure that you don't go to the line. And this one will be a bit thicker. Let's split this one in half. It doesn't matter where you put them. It just makes your tree unique. And then you can decide how much of a top you want, if you want a big top, a smaller top. I think I'm happy with the size of that there, so we're going to leave it like that. So then you're going to do the same thing on the other side, and you kind of want to match up where it is, just so it's symmetrical. And then you just want to be very careful you don't cut over that line. we go. Alright, so now we're ready for the longest step. And what I like to do is have an extra piece of paper, doesn't matter what it is, just some scrap. And you're going to peel back your first layer of branches, and they get a little stuck together just from cutting it, but that's a first layer. And then what I do is I like to put a piece of paper in between, so one, it's clear for you to see, and two, it's just a little bit easier for me to fold without it sticking to the other layers. And you're just going to fold the edges over into little triangles. And these ones you want to spend a little bit of time creasing. If you don't have nails quite as long as mine, you could use a little coin or even the end of the pen to just help you. I'm just going to use my nail because it's pretty good. And sometimes you'll get to one that, depending how far in you've cut, it maybe won't quite line up just with how short this cut is. And that's okay. As long as it's still a triangle, the side doesn't need to meet the bottom. Mine happens to meet, so that's great. But if it doesn't, it's not a big deal. I think, in fact, yeah, on this one here in a few places didn't quite meet up, but you don't even notice. All right, so that's the first side creased, and you don't crease the top, just the other ones. And so when you fold that over, that's basically what it's going to look like. So we're going to do that for every section all the way around. So I'm just going to put this behind each section and then fold till we're done. So when I get to when there's just kind of one left, because there's still some on this side, I just flip it all over that side. Just because then you have the finished half and the yet to be done half. Now we're on our very last section here. And another reason I like to do it flat on the table like this is you can also pick it up and do it, but I find a couple times I pulled a little too hard and ripped through the tree, and I find that doesn't really happen when it's flat because I can hold it still with this hand. Okay, so now that you've folded all that, what I like to do is just spread it out, and you can kind of push it how you want it to be in place. It's just paper. And there you have it, your finished origami pine tree.